From MTN News, you're watching Montana This Morning.
The blended classroom recommendation is getting mixed responses from both parents and teachers alike. I'm Cody Boyer in Bozeman, sitting in on the virtual board meeting to decide its fate coming up.
Back to school in person or not? That is the question. I'm Annie Johnson with more details on why a group of parents want their kids back in school.
The Salvation Army is looking for ways to help support students on the first day of school. I'm Gabby Crevitt, and coming up, I'll let you know how you can help.
6:30 on this Friday. We'll have all those stories in-depthly covered by our reporting crew.
Yep.
But right now, let's check in with meteorologist Matt Elwell. Outside, it's beautiful. I'm looking
It
outside.
is.
It's lovely.
Absolutely fantastic. Not a whole lot of wind. The temperatures are mild.
Mm-hmm.
Our big issue today is going to be the wind. We do have red flag warnings out for parts of the area. Not complete encompass of the area. Regardless, we need to be careful with these stronger winds throughout the day today. Wouldn't take much to get a wildfire out of control. Temperatures this morning into the 50s, 54 in Ennis, 41 in West Yellowstone, among the coolest. Our skies are clearing. It's going to be a beautiful afternoon temperature-wise. You can see how clear the skies are off of our Bozeman iCam at the MSU campus. Temperature should be into the mid to upper 70s. Butte has a beautiful sunrise as well. This is a great shot from a community hospital of Anaconda iCam. Temperatures are going to be a little cooler for the weekend. We're going to talk more about our red flag warning, what to expect into the weekend. That's coming up in just a few minutes.
All right, thank you, Matt. 6:31 now. For the first time, the Bozeman School District School Board met to discuss the superintendent's recommendation to return to school this fall in a whole new format. MTN's Cody Boyer sat in on the entire meeting, runs us through the key points.
Leading up to this virtual meeting, there has been a mixed response from both parents and teachers alike. The idea on the table, a blended class schedule with some classes being in person and the majority of them being remote.
Teachers come back to school August 26th, so there's 20 days.
At one point, more than 930 people listened in as the Bozeman School District Board met with only a couple of weeks left until school via Zoom.
What are the thresholds that would toggle us to 100% remote learning?
Superintendent Bob Connor's recommendation would impact nearly every part of what other models would call a traditional school year: special education, athletics, building ventilation, busing, using a learning management system, and more. Deputy Superintendent Casey Bertram says there is no easy button.
We had an additional week after spring break, so we had 5 days to get our teachers up to speed for remote learning. When they come back on contract, have 3 days.
The board also discussed childcare, a topic that appeared frequently in public comment, with 85% of parents preferring on-campus learning over remote.
At the middle school and high school in particular, those classes carry a large number of students. So even in a cohort model, those classes are too big.
Directors from each department also discussed what would happen if a child or teacher ended up testing positive and how that could result in a classroom staying home, and how trusting staff, students, and parents is paramount.
There's a trust built in there, but we do also know that trust sometimes gets broken.
The board decided this would be the first step in making a decision, opening the door to next Monday. That's when a final decision could be reached.
If we don't start well, we're going to be in just putting out fires constantly.
In Bozeman, Cody Boyer, MTN News.
Now again, Cody tells us the board will meet again virtually on that Monday, starting once again at 9 in the morning. Everyone is welcome to participate via Zoom. We'll have a link to do so on our websites. Staying on topic, while some teachers say there are problems and concerns with the blended recommendation, they also notice benefits. President of the Bozeman Education Association also spoke during yesterday's discussion session about the superintendent's recommended plan. According to the BEA, teachers concerned about the safety of their students and about their own health care have legitimate concerns with reopening in-person classes. But the union says its members understand the importance of training for this new normal, include learning management systems like Seesaw, Blackboard, or Canvas. The BEA president says the blended model offers more time to practice with its schedule, but it still has flaws.
The blended model, it does have more of the current prep time involved with it because of the way the schedule is structured. The cohort model, as Casey talked about, we've got some pretty serious prep time issues at the K or 6-12 level.
Again, we'll continue to update that Monday meeting for you online and on air. Also, ahead of the Bozeman School District's meeting, a group of parents gathered in front of the Wilson yesterday morning. MTN's Annie Johnson tells us they were hoping their message reached school board members before a decision is made on how learning will go this fall.
It's a tough time for students and parents of school-aged kids as decisions are being made as to whether or not children should return back to school this upcoming year.
I do feel like I have been robbed from my education because I am not learning to the same capacity and the same content that I would be if I was in person at school.
Student Helene Hart spent her Thursday morning advocating to go back to school in person for her senior year.
We need to go back 5 days a week, and the detrimental effects of closing schools outweigh the slight chance and the negative effects of coronavirus.
Right now, the recommended plan looks at in-person learning for 2 days and online learning for the remaining 3. But from past experiences, this teacher says online learning just isn't the same.
I felt like teaching online wasn't really very effective. I mean, we were able to make it work the best that we could, but it was really difficult.
She's a parent, but her perspective also comes as a teacher.
I really struggled as a second grade teacher because my students, trying to teach them reading, writing, and math, you can't do the conferencing you need to do, you can't see their papers, it's hard to keep them focused on what you're doing, and I just felt like it wasn't really the best option.
And as a teacher, Hart says she's here to support the board, her students, and her daughter.
I really trust our school board to make a good decision. There are lots of options on the table. I hope that they look at the information and make an informed decision based on what parents need, what parents want, schools, what's healthy, what's best for our kids, and I think that they'll do that.
The upcoming school year is set to start on August 31st. Reporting in Bozeman, Annie Johnson, MTN News.
Well, speaking of going back to school, the Salvation Army says parents should never have to decide between putting food on the table and buying their children school supplies. MTN's Gabby Crevitt with a story about a program that hopes to help supply kids with what they need to succeed this school year.
While there's still some uncertainty about what the first day of school will look like here in Bozeman, one thing that is for sure is that students will need school supplies, whether it's remote learning or in person.
It's markers and crayons and pencils and paper. It's general school supplies.
The Salvation Army, Family Promise, and Love Inc. are at it again this year, promoting the annual Tools for Schools drive. And this year, it's even more important for some families in the community.
And then especially with COVID-19 hitting and parents have been laid off and kids have been home, it's a really big need in this community to make sure that the kids have what they need in order to succeed.
Churches all across Bozeman are serving as drop-off points for donated school supplies. And they say making sure kids have what they need on the first day of school gets them in a positive mindset.
A brand new backpack and everything that's needed for the year, it makes them feel good about themselves. It makes them like, okay, I can do school. Somebody believes in me enough to give me all of this stuff so that I can succeed in school.
Now, usually the Salvation Army will hold a pickup date to get the school supplies, but this year, because of COVID-19, they're looking for volunteers to help distribute these full backpacks. Reporting in Bozeman, Gabby Crevitt, MTN News.
6:38 now in other news this morning. Firefighters are getting a handle on the old Baldy wildfire burning near Twin Bridges. Fire continues to hold at about 130 acres, burning at high elevation in the area above Wisconsin Creek. The wildfire, which was ignited by a lightning strike on Saturday, is about 10% contained. It's not threatening any structures in the area. However, it is affecting travel on a number of Forest Service roads, including the road into Branham Lakes Campground. Well, to wear a mask or a face shield, this is just one of the everyday choices we're now forced to make in the middle of a pandemic. MTN's Caitlin Corbett helps you make a more informed decision.
The conversation around wearing different protective gear is expanding, in particular, face shields. Teachers recently asked the top infectious disease expert, Dr. Anthony Fauci, about that. Here's what he had to say.
And they were saying that several of them feel that in the classroom it's better that they would be wearing a face shield. And they asked me what I thought about it. And I said, if you can get one, it's not a bad idea.
Dr. Fauci went on to say that a shield shouldn't necessarily be worn in place of a mask. But more parents are considering the option for their kids.
For some of the kids, the mask just isn't going to work. And in those cases, a face shield can be considered. But I think it needs to be understood that that's not the default.
Infectious disease experts say there just isn't enough data yet on how much protection a face shield provides. One study found it did significantly reduce the number of inhaled droplets. But cloth masks are also about protecting others. Shields weren't as sure to do that as well.
If you were wearing a shield, the respiratory secretions that might be coming from your mouth or nose are not going to be as well contained.
In the healthcare setting, face shields are used primarily to prevent splashing in the eyes. Dr. Milani offered this advice about finding the right shield.
It's important that it's long enough to really protect the whole face and that it wraps around fully and that it fits well up at the forehead.
Companies including Apple, Nike, GM, and John Deere have all started producing face shields. In a JAMA Network Open Viewpoint, it was pointed out that face shields have some advantages over masks. They can be reused indefinitely, they are easier to clean, and they're comfortable and help prevent touching of the face. In Bozeman, Caitlin Corbett, MTN News.
6:40 now in political news. Senator Steve Daines and Governor Steve Bullock meet for their first debate right here on your MTN station. Montana's U.S. Senate debate Saturday, 9 o'clock, right here on KBZK and KXLF. Going to take a quick break here on Montana this morning. 6:40. Who would think mac and cheese would be at the center of a raging debate? Well, it is. And it centers on breakfast. We talked about this yesterday, what that's all about coming up after the break. But first, here's a look at what's coming up at 7 on CBS This Morning.
Good morning. Ahead on CBS This Morning, as the U.S. reaches another grim milestone, what federal leaders are saying in the continued fight against coronavirus. Also, the restaurant industry is calling for billions of dollars in bailout money. Hear what a celebrity chef says is needed to help struggling owners during this pandemic. Plus, only about 5% of doctors are African American. We'll show you how increasing diversity in medicine can lead to better health for people of color. And we'll take you to the world's largest untouched forest, which critics say is being destroyed by the making of a product we use every single day. Stay with us. We'll see you at 7.